All right, I love it. So, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Part of the Cool Roofs community, as well as those in the greatest industry of them all, known as roofing. We have an exciting podcast today with someone that means the world to me, and someone who's one of my closest friends. And yeah, it's crazy how we've reconnected. We'll get into that, but a huge piece of Cool Roofs, not only just in account management, but also just in leadership and identity coaching, which we'll get into today. Mr. Daniel Schuler here with us. How we doing?
Good, man. Got my cold brew. It's like my
cheers
staple thing. It's so funny because the other day on my Instagram, I made this I don't know if you saw it, but I made this super serious video because cold brew is like my thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey guys, I just got to make this weird announcement. Like, cold brew's taken over my life. I can't go a day without it, so I'm not going to be taking it anymore. And so there's going to be no more posting about cold brew. And as I say that, I take a sip of one. I was like, yeah, right, I would never do that. But I had so many people hit me up, and they were like, dude, I thought you were going to quit that. And I was worried about you because that's like all I drink. So.
Well, we always do Fun Coffee Friday with Jack, my fiance.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, ask Daniel where he goes, because you're always finding like the best places. And every time that we get together, you're always double fisting cold brews.
Yeah.
Just like.
That's it. Dishing them out, man.
Well, so here's the exciting part. So I think everyone always wonders, like, you've got recruitment and business, and there's just the traditional way of like, oh, I have a recruiter. I reach out to people and I find people to see if it's a perfect fit for the company. And I think the one cool thing about Cool Roofs and talking about recruitment is we don't really go out and recruit people. I think we attract people into our life. And so what's crazy is tell the story of kind of how we reconnected. What, I think it was like 2020?
2020, yeah. COVID, baby. So yeah, basically, you and I had originally got connected in the same circle in network marketing, I think back in 2017 or something like that. We never had talked a lot, but we were just kind of running in that same group. We were always a part of that same circle. And so I just remember I was in New York, and I had all this stuff lined up that I was going to do there with a company I was doing coaching for at the time. And literally everything fell through, like the people that I was going to see, the place I was going to stay. So I ended up booking a hotel, and I'm just in this hotel like, what am I going to do in New York during COVID? I know nobody here now. I mean, I knew people, but I couldn't do anything with them. So I'm just on Instagram, and I get to your story, and you had posted your location, and it said New York, and I was like, what the heck? So I hit the location. It was literally a mile and a half from where I was. So I hit you up. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. I'm out here, I have nothing to do. You're like, come grab dinner. So I met you at the spaghetti restaurant or something, I think. Yeah, Italian restaurant. So we went there, and we just ended up hanging out, and then we went on that Statue of Liberty cruise the next day and just kept talking. I remember we were in the Uber as well, just talking about life and God and just kind of where we were at. We were like, man, we got to do something together. I don't know what it's going to be, but at some point we got to just work together on something. So that was kind of when we started like actually talking consistently.
Yeah, that's when like the seed was planted. Yeah, but the cool thing too is like that was one of the coolest New York trips I think anyone would ever experienced, because like their version of COVID, they just like super locked down. So like when we went to the Statue of Liberty, it was like just us.
It's like a private tour.
It was literally like a private tour, no one there. It was phenomenal. But man, that was a blast. And so when we came back from that, we started talking about, Cool Roofs was just slowly growing. And one of the things that we were lacking was really someone who had the attention towards like our administrative and making sure that things are running smooth. And, as leaders, we're supposed to bring people in and position them properly. I think at the time it was a great opportunity for you.
Yeah.
But as we went through that, one of the things that really took off is when it was like, hey, Daniel, like we're bringing Maddie in. She's going to be more in-house and crushing this. And then it brought about the opportunity for you to start being more of like an account manager. And tell me a little about that and kind of your day-to-day now and how that looks.
Yeah, so basically now what's so cool about what you've done, which I don't think a lot of people even know that they could go this route, is over the past 3 years, for those of you listening, what Colt's done is he's built strategic partnerships with these solar companies. And people don't realize it's not as easy as you think. Like, you don't just go put panels on a roof. There's this whole process that has to happen. And a lot of the time before you can even put the panels down, you have to make sure the roof is okay. And most of the time, like 80% of the time, you have to replace the roof. And in order to be able to do that, you need to have a reliable roofing contractor that has a quick turnaround time with a high-quality product, high-quality install process. And so over the years, what Colt's done, like I said, is he's built these partnerships with all of these solar reps and account managers from solar companies so that when they do need to put a roof on, Cool Roofs is kind of that go-to company. And so my role in that is I build relationships with those solar reps, with these solar companies, making myself available to them. You know, they all have a personalized link that they can use whenever they need a quote. They send the first name, last name, address. I measure the roof, I send an estimate, and then they can incorporate that into their solar project. And it's actually really a great deal for the homeowner, because a lot of them would want a new roof anyway, but they can't afford it because roofing, it's just expensive to get a roof. So not only do they get to save money with solar, but they get a free roof because they're not paying any more for the roof. It's just part of the solar project. And so my role is managing those relationships. And then once that's approved from start to finish, I'm talking with the homeowner, getting the project scheduled, ordering the material, scheduling the crew, making sure that the reps know when the project is going in. That way they can schedule their panel installation accordingly. Putting out fires here and there with different things that happen. I mean, I think since I started in February, I think I've worked with over 150 sales reps, you know, building these relationships, and I've dealt with pretty much everything under the sun already. So it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's like throw it at me. I've probably seen
literally.
it before, and
I've had people yelling at me for stuff I wasn't responsible for, and you just meet it with patience and grace, and a soft answer turns away wrath, always.
And it's fun too, because like one of the largest, they actually are the number one solar installer in the United States based off volume, as well as I would say professionalism as well. We actually hold their contract in doing roofs for them in the state of Texas. We're taking the NASCA right now, which is a multi-state GC license test, so that's going to grow your territory overall. We're going to start installing in New Mexico, then we're going to go into Arkansas, then we're going to go into Oklahoma, and then Colorado, and then we're working really hard, which will probably be like the longest. The version that we'll have is Florida. But having the opportunity to work alongside them, holding that contract, I mean, dude, we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of roofs for this one particular company. And what I love about it is, like, it even sets up our own sales guys that giving them opportunity where, for instance, we have this thing called creative financing. And I know this isn't something that you really specifically look on, but while we're on the subject, you know, creative financing grants the opportunity where if a homeowner has a high deductible, or the homeowner really is in a position where she can't afford a roof, but because of the increase in these electric bills and these efficiencies, you know, their bill is getting more and more and more. And if we can go ahead and put them in a place where they have a fixed rate electric bill and make it cheaper than what they currently have, rolling them into an opportunity of solar when financing it with a roof, they just got a lower fixed rate, and then they also have a new roof and they have solar. And it's cool. One of the things that JB always talks about, the guy who leads Cool Solar, he's like, imagine if you went to the gas pump every day and you knew exactly how much it was going to be every single time that you filled your car.
That'd be nice.
That's a fixed rate. And so that's definitely exciting, having the opportunity that we have. But I'll say, like, man, what do you think sets you apart from everyone else when doing this? Because I think a lot of it goes into leadership and all that. So
I mean, humbly,
first sneeze on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get it.
It's interesting because I'm sure there's plenty of people that have the abilities that I do, the communication that I have. I think for me, it's never transactional. Like when I get a rep talking to me, it's not about building a business relationship. It's about building an actual relationship that business happens in. And so I'll have reps call me just about life, you know, and I won't be like, hey, is this for a deal? Okay, I gotta go, you know. And you just build, and people don't realize, like, an extra 5 minutes about life can buy you another 5 years of business partnership.
100%.
You know, and so I think the thing that would set me apart is just the level of effort I put into the type of communication. And the other thing is I try to ask questions more than I make statements. So when someone comes at me with a need, I'll just ask them a question about the need. Like if they ask me a question about something they need, or tell me something they need, and what I need to know isn't in there, I don't tell them, hey, you didn't include this. I'll say, hey, do you think I could get this done with a first name? Because without that, I can't put it in our system.
Yep.
So because I said that, I asked them to give me something, but I also explained, like, I can't put this into our system without this. Guess what? Next time they send it, it's got the first name in it.
100%.
You know, and so I think, yeah, and then I'll just call randomly. You know, I'm the one that makes the calls too. Just check in on them. Like, there's an account manager I work with one of the solar companies, and we talked almost like every day. Just calling, hey, how's work going? You kind of just do the little banter,
Yep.
just, you know, whatever. And so it doesn't make it as, when it's a transaction, it's just hard to kind of have that depth. And I'm someone who can't do the whole surface stuff. Like, I can, but it's just not, it's not sustainable, you know?
And it's funny because we live in a microwave society where everyone wants everything like now. And anytime like I call American Express or I call, you know, a flight company or something, I'm always put in a place where I'm working with a robot.
Yeah.
And I think people overlook relationship business these days. And there is relationship business, which is, you know, person to person. But then like how you do it is really deep diving with these people, because you and I both know, like, people don't care to do business with you until they fully understand how much you truly care and working throughout the whole business process with them. And I've heard your phone calls. Like, I've heard you on calls with individuals talking about relationship, giving advice. I've heard you talking to individuals talking more on the spiritual side of things and their walk through with Christ. And it's just amazing how you take your skill set, really leading by your heart, and how much you just love other people.
Yeah.
And you use it as a vehicle just to meet more people, help more people, and you've just done an unbelievable job. I mean,
Thank you.
I think like the first 2 months you were here, you got over like 100 and something 5-star reviews on Google.
Yeah,
and
I think it was like 70, but close. Yeah,
all right, 75-star reviews, and which is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got people who worked with us here for years and have gotten 7. So you know, can we get 20 of you?
Yeah.
But in doing that, like, I think your background has a lot to do with coaching. Yeah. And so handling conversations, really opening that space to ask curious questions and just really then support. Yeah. I think a lot of business now is like one way or the highway. Yeah. And there's not that attentive to detail. So when working with these guys, what are some of like the reactions that you've gotten once going through deals being like, hey, like y'all are different, or how does that look?
Yeah. So it's interesting you bring that up as well, because we're a very dualistic society. And all that means is, like you said, it's either this way or it's this way. And typically, unless it's a specific moral code, it's not. There's multiple options. And so what I like to do is when someone presents me with a duality reality, which is basically like someone projecting what they think is possible, I don't tell them they're wrong. I just show them there's more options. So, you know, I'll get someone, there was someone, I don't know, months ago, and he was a homeowner, and he was yelling at me about a deal, and it had to do with the solar side, which I'm not involved in. And all I kept saying was addressing, I understand where you're coming from. However, I hope you know that I'm not in charge of that. So even if I know what's going on, that's not my responsibility. And so I'm the roofing contractor. So here's all the things I can handle. Have I done this for you? Well, yeah, you have. Have I done this for you? Did I tell you I would do this and then do this? Yes, you have. So I'm really sorry that this is your experience, but I want to make sure we're focusing on what's actually going on. And here's all of our different options. I recommend you call this person. So it's a lot of it is diffusing situations, and seeing the emotion behind the words, because a lot of people don't really know how to say what they mean, believe it or not. You know, and that's what emotional intelligence is not just being able to be aware of your emotions and the emotions of others, but being aware if the words you're using are accurately portraying your emotions, which a lot of the time they're not. So I listen to a homeowner yell, and they're not angry, they're scared. Yep. So if I address the fear instead of the anger, they're going to be satisfied, because they're like, oh, I'm angry, but that's covering my fear. So I have to address the fear in that.
And it's definitely overlooked, like the difference, and we talk about this a lot, between being reactive and responsive.
Mm-hmm.
And a thought that just like, well, I said that popped in my head is like, I'm doing golf lessons right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like this guy, absolute stud. Got my golf clubs today, the new ones. So
you got them today,
out,
or are you getting them today?
100% this afternoon, baby. But one of the things that my golf coach has been teaching me is, as I come up, do a slight pause and then go through. And I think a lot of that can be an example to where it's like, hey, when we find ourselves in these positions with homeowners who are not yet just angry but scared, rather than going and just swinging quick real through with reacting, which most people do, come up and take a quick pause and be like, you know what? Let me understand them real quick. And I'm going to respond with questions to better understand, like, are you angry? Are you scared? What's really going on? So I can be more supportive. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people take that pause today. Yeah. They're just so quick to react. Like, you're an idiot. No, you're you know, you're an idiot. It's like, hey, like, tell me what's really going on. I think you do a fantastic job at that. Thank you. Stepping into Cool Roofs, tell me a little about that. Like, you've done some remarkable things. I mean, your story's incredible. I got to go to your church group the other night and really understand your story from A to Z. And that's like 6 podcasts long, because it's super impactful. Crazy. But just being a high-end model, then going from model to absolutely doing extremely well in the music industry, then leaving the music industry, doing amazing within coaching and really just helping people, coaching over 500 individuals from a business level to professional sports or collegiate sports and whatnot. You've really done a lot that's very impactful. And since then, we've been able to really bring you into our space. So tell us, what are your thoughts on Cool Roofs? You know, what do you see and how do you feel it and live it every day?
Man, it's been such a journey, that's for sure. God has moved me in many different directions. But in terms of coaching, you know, it's funny because I'll tell people, I do identity coaching. They're like, what is that even? Yeah. And it's funny because when I was first starting, part of figuring it out is telling people what you do. So first I was telling people I was an emotional intelligence coach, and people kind of knew what that was. And then, because I don't want to say a life coach. Life coach it's a very broad, like it could mean anything. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do within coaching? Well, my passion and the place that I excel is helping people do identity discovery. And so to understand that, identity essentially, over the years, I've realized, you know, coaching all these people, it's who you think you are, who you think that other people think that you are, and then you build a story around that, and that's your life. And that's super basic terms. But in terms of Cool Roofs, and just any company in general, but in terms of Cool Roofs, I think one of the things that, and I am partial because I'm in the company, but even when I came in, the level at which the individuals in the company understand the identity of the company while also having autonomy of their own life, it's pretty remarkable. And the level of emotional intelligence that 95% of the people in the company have is next to none, in terms of communication, in terms of punctuality, in terms of delivery, in terms of even like your leadership specifically. Like, I remember the first time we kind of hung out when I came to Texas, I think we were in the car for 20 minutes and you got like 19 phone calls. And each one was either someone coming with a problem or someone coming with a need. And you were just like, I don't think I've ever seen you angry. And if you are, you like warn that you're about to be angry for a minute. You're like, okay, I just got to rant for like 1 minute and then it's done. And so I think there's this level-headedness about the company, understanding where you're going. And that's how a company excels. Like, what was really cool is I was just in Brazil in March for an opportunity there. I was one of my clients was training with a professional soccer team over there, and I got to go over there and train. And there was a coach that came from LA, and he said, Daniel, as an identity coach, what do you think makes a good team or a company? But he was a soccer coach, so he said team. And I was like, well, it's basically a group of individuals who know who they are outside of the team, and they all come together, figure out what the team needs, and in their own identity, they pursue that together. And then we met a legendary coach who was on staff with Real Madrid in the early 2000s with all these legends. And we asked him the same question, and he said exactly what I said, which was really cool. I was like, oh, okay, like Real Madrid coach agrees with me. But essentially, it's like you give people, you as Colt, give people the opportunity to be themselves in this company while understanding the goal of the company, because it's not transactional. It's not just about making money. Anybody can make money in roofing, but not everybody can come into a roofing company and feel like, you wouldn't think of a roofing company feeling like family, or feeling like a huge, crazy entrepreneurial opportunity. Like the system that you created, the rank system, the ability that people have to actually not make a living, but make a life in the company starting at age 17, when you started the company. Like, it's just, people don't understand that. And so coming in at age 29, for me, having been an identity coach for 6 years, working with multiple companies, I've worked with, trading companies, door-to-door sales companies, like all these companies, and I look at the culture, which is what keeps people there. Like the job is what brings people, the culture is what keeps people.
Yeah.
And no matter how good the job is, the culture will always make people leave if it's not good. So I think you've done a really good job at facilitating that. And then just even, me being able to come in and even being able to open to have me coach, because a lot of people would come in and they're like, if I'm not the one doing the coaching, then it doesn't matter because I need to be in the front seat. Like, you're so willing to take a back seat because you understand a true leader is one that trusts in his culture and his company enough to watch from the back and to allow other people to develop, because that's how you create sustainability.
For
so
sure.
It's really cool to just be a part of all that too.
I think the cool concept that comes out of it is like, I work on me for you, you work on you for me.
Yeah.
And we've always pressed upon like education and knowledge is everything, especially when applied. And so self-education is everything. Like when you're in the day-to-day, you're learning, but when you're away from it, what are you doing to work on yourself?
Yeah.
And in having that mentality of every person that's come in, whenever you did come in, you're like, hey, do you mind if I have an opportunity to coach some of the guys?
Yeah.
They're so driven on not just becoming financially better.
Yeah.
They are so driven on becoming individually better.
Yeah.
And so when you open that opportunity to the guys, like people reach out and be like, dude, this is amazing. Like your guy, Daniel, he reached out to me. I know he's new to the company. I see he's crushing it, but like he wants to have a session with me doing a coaching session.
Yeah.
And that excites me. And I think there's some industries or some companies to where if that was a reality, people would take offense to that in the sense of like, oh, I already know everything, or I don't need that. I have a coach, or yada, yada. But where I made a big change this year is I invested into a life coach. Well, not a leadership coach.
Yeah.
Bob Williamson, who I think you're flying to Memphis
tomorrow
to work with.
Shout
Bob.
out Bob.
Yeah, shout out Bob. Bob's amazing. And it was one of the largest self-investments that I've ever made. And it was funny as I was going through it, I even asked Trey, I'm like, do you really think that this is something that's been beneficial to me and our leadership? And he said, dude, from outside looking in, from where you started with this guy to where you are now is night and day difference. And I think that's why our culture is what it is because we've been able to take what we learn and we pour it into, and we expect our guys to really nourish from it and become better. Because here's the deal. If Cool Roofs, like something, God forbid, was to happen tomorrow, you can take away the company, but you can't take away the skill set and the knowledge and just the overall ability to succeed from these guys. They can take that and go win wherever they want. Yeah. And that's overlooked. So, no, it's exciting. And, you were in LA when we were talking, and I said, hey, I got an opportunity for you. You got to come to Austin. And just your faith towards the opportunity itself of being like, I'm there, dropping everything, driving all the way, getting here, and just really starting a whole new life on adventure. But it's been cool too because like your job that you do when dealing with these people in a positive way creates not only a great income, but it also creates freedom. I mean, since you've worked with us, you've traveled to like Norway, Italy, you went to Africa, I think, and then you were in Argentina, Brazil, doing a soccer thing while still creating an immense amount of impact with all. It's phenomenal. So tell me a little about that, that experience.
I think what's cool, and it's funny because it's remote, and it's funny too because from my perspective, and there's a lot of context around this which probably won't be able to be given in the podcast, but for a decade basically there was so many different directions I was pulled, very promising directions. Like I was in the entertainment industry off and on for 10 years, music industry for 5 years, modeling and acting for 5 years, doing network marketing, doing all these things. And at the root of all of that, the identity, which is what I talk about, was just I wanted to help people make money, help people, make money, and then just be free.
Yep.
But also add value and be valued in the way at which I could add value. And so it was like we already had a family trip to Europe planned. And then because of the freedom I had, I was able to just stay there. And I'm a Swiss citizen. And so I've grown up going to Europe. My dad's an immigrant from Switzerland. And but I got to stay there. I got to see a friend I hadn't seen in 6.5 years in Norway. I met him in Spain, I met up with him in Spain, and then we went to Morocco for a day, and then I flew back to Norway. So I got to just see life. And I'm in Norway talking to a homeowner in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like scheduling, it was just so trippy. And then I did the same thing in Morocco. It's like you have created a position in a company that can be run from anywhere in the world. Like I sent you a screenshot at one point. I'm like, bro, look at the location I'm at. There's a roof going in Levelland, Texas right now while I'm in northern Africa.
You sent me like a picture of you on the phone, like overlooking this beautiful view, and you're like, that's me working with the customer on their install.
Yeah. It was just crazy, man. And so I think what's cool too is just, which I know because of how busy you are, you don't really get a chance to do this, but every now and then I'm sure you kind of take a step back but from the outside looking in, not a lot of people have realized what it takes, number one, to build a company, number two, to build a sustainable company that's like you guys have more than doubled every year since you started. Every month. Like I remember in January, you showed me the numbers and you're like, we just cleared in 1 month what we made in the entire year of 2017.
Yeah.
And so it's just cool to watch and be a part of that. And I'm super grateful as well. Like my life's been crazy these past 8 months. There's just been so many changes, and with all the unknowns and uncertainty, other than my faith, of course, which is the root of everything, it's just you've created a way for me to really also blend in. Like I'm not an employee. We're friends, we're associates, we do business together.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's super fun. Like we go to the ranch, and we go to concerts, and we go to dinner, and we just hang out and do life. And so it's a huge blessing. I'm never gonna take that for granted, for sure.
And I don't know if you say it like when you reflect on it, all the time. Like I said this yesterday at our conference. Like I love working out, and I go sit in the cold plunge, and then I just lay out, no phone, nothing, and I just reflect. And one thing that really hits is man, when you go through it all, I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was selling lighters at a trade show at 16 years old. I found this magnetic lighter, and I thought it was cool. And then you go from that to network marketing to that failing, to then a roofing company prior to this one to failing, then investing in this, health and wellness stuff that failed, and then doing a CBD thing that failed. People never really see the failures along the way that for me were just unbelievable learning lessons. Oh, yeah. And so as I do reflect, yesterday we had our seminar. Mm-hmm. Our seminar had 35 sales reps in it, and leadership, and people just from our Central Texas realm, not even including our Dallas branch or our Houston branch. And it was emotional to see. I had the opportunity to pull up a video of me in 2016.
Oh, dang.
And it was me driving and just sharing my excitement of how much the roofing industry could fully impact your life.
That's crazy.
And staying consistent with it. Now it's emotional for me because not only does it impact my life, but it impacts
mine.
60-something people, just sales, not even including, installers and manufacturers and installer, supplier reps. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So definitely I think reflecting is everything. And I think reflecting is what brings fulfillment, because so many people want more. But if you don't really understand what you have in the current moment, my prayers in 2017 is my reality in 2024, which is crazy. And just us working together is a freaking dream.
Yeah.
So we talk about roofing. We talk about how special your role is within the industry and how that can just continue to grow. And honestly, like, your role is like the catalyst of what separates us as a company, of how we treat people and build business and everyone else in our industry. But there's one special thing that I really want to talk to you about today, because this podcast is roofing driven, but we're here to build people, and a lot of that has to do with how you treat people and the knowledge that you have in that noggin up there.
Yeah.
Your big thing that you are really good at is what you mentioned here a little bit ago, is identity coaching.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for quite some time. As you know, here at Cool Roofs, I mean, people on the podcast have heard this before, and everyone was fired up yesterday when we talked about it. We've already had, I think, 7 people qualify, but in November we're going to see Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And golly, he's a tornado of wisdom. Yeah, big old hands.
He's freaking
say
Viking.
yes, say
Viking.
yes,
He's a
walk
Viking,
on that,
bro.
walk on that fire.
Love it.
But we obviously pour a lot into our people. So
Yeah.
you coming over, knowing that your heart's just a serving heart, you're like, hey, I want to do identity coach with the guys. So tell us about identity coach. Like, how'd you get into that?
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast in itself. So I'll probably skip some details, but 30,000 feet above view, I was kind of just always the advice guy in high school. I had a very fortunate upbringing in the sense of, from a very young age. Most people, they'll say like, oh, with men, they're told to suppress their emotions and don't show emotion. I was actually the opposite. So I grew up expressing my emotions. And so it was funny because a lot of people thought I was soft growing up because I would just say how I felt, and I would explain the reason I felt that way. And people would say I'm like over-explaining or nobody cares or whatever it is. And so I actually grew up in a very emotionally healthy environment, which I don't take for granted. Sometimes it's even weird saying that because so many people didn't. So sometimes it sounds arrogant to some people. But my mom, just from a very young age, taught me the words to use to express myself. And so I was having adult conversations at age 12 just because I would look at reality and describe what was going on. And so in high school, people would come to me asking for advice, and then I would just say what was going on. And I was typically right, not because I was amazing, but because so many people are living in a lie that I'm the one that just says what's going on, and it happens. And so skipping a whole bunch of things, in 2018, I believe it was, or maybe 2019 or so, I had been kind of helping people in general. People came to me. There's this one guy, and I think I had spent a total of like 35 hours total just helping him, and his relationship was falling apart, and he actually just got married a couple of years ago, so that was kind of cool to, not because of me, but like, I was part of that early development. Yeah. Great success. But anyway, so we found this, my mom was like, oh, this sounds like you. And she read off the description of this certification process. And it was through the Global Society of NLP. And NLP just stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is essentially the neuro is just the invisible part, the linguistic is language, and the P is programming, of course. So there's this invisible program you create based off of the language that you have in your brain. And then that, in turn, creates a filter of how you experience the world. And that filter can get dirty. And so a lot of the time, using NLP strategy, you can help people clean up their filter. And so I went through this certification process in LA under a lady named Nikki. She's amazing. Shout out Nikki if you ever listen to this. But she's just, I saw her fix phobias people had for 15 years in like 2 minutes. Wow. Just using these patterns.
I hate spiders. So
someone couldn't even say the word spider without getting anxiety, and then by the end they could like look at one in the room, like crazy stuff. But anyway, so I got she works with the Dutch government, the UN, Fortune 500 companies. Nike pays her like buku bucks for an hour just to come in, and so I was fortunate enough to be able to get certified under her with life coaching certification, motivational coaching, social and emotional intelligence coaching, and then advanced NLP communication. And so now I had these tools where it wasn't just common knowledge I actually had a place to go to help people, and I could charge because now I'm like an official coach, And even that whole identity process of like charging people to talk to me was a crazy thing I had to overcome. And I was 23 at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, who wants to listen to a 23-year-old talk about life? And I had lived a lot of life still at that point, you know, so it wasn't like I'm just this random 23-year-old. Like I've lived in other countries before. I've been in multiple industries, so I still had a lot of value to add. But in the same way, a lot of it is once you're in the door, they love you, but you got to get in the door.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of free coaching, even with these certifications in the beginning, because it was a chance for me to get my chops, like learning how to talk, learning what works, getting case studies of what the biggest problem is. And at that time, I got introduced to a guy named Jamie Winship, who has also just changed my lives and the lives of probably about 20 of my friends. I just send his videos to them. And long story short, what he did is he was a cop who solved these crazy cases nobody could solve from DC down to Florida, using his faith and also just the power of identity and prayer and all these things. And I mean, an example of that, he solved a child abduction case. He was like, Lord, you know where your children are. Show me where this kid is. And this car drives by and is driving the normal speed limit. And Jamie's like, I felt like I was going to throw up. And so he's like, pull that car over. Pulls the car over, gets out, goes to the driver, says, get out of the car, open the trunk. Girl's in the trunk. They're like, how'd you do that? He's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I prayed and God told me where the kid was. And so then the CIA came and recruited him, and he did identity work doing conflict resolution in the Middle East for 27 years. And all the stories he had of like identity, I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do. Because the root of most of our issues are identity, and identity is a perception. And so we try to we try to solve internal problems with external solutions. And if you look at our world, like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't win a war of ideology physically. So why do you think there's wars? Because we're fighting, we're not even fighting the real thing, you know? And so the war within ourselves is the biggest one that we fight every day. And so just kind of going in and helping people. I work a lot with lies and truth. And a lot of people communicate well, but they communicate well about the wrong thing. A lot of people's narrative is based off of a lie that they were told by a coach or a parent or something as a kid. And because we don't have the cognitive ability to go, oh, I'm being lied to right now, we just take that, and then that's our life. And so one of the sales managers I was coaching, you know, he's like 35, and they're not able to make sales. And turns out the mentality he had came from age 7, from his dad, you know, and then that had projected. He played football at UT. And so then we went, and he's a big dude. So we went into UT, and we went into his time at UT, and then we talked about the stuff that his coach said. And so a lot of it is just, and I'm not sitting here as this guru who like has all the answers, because I don't, you do. But what I figured out is if I can help you use your NLP, like your neuro-linguistic program that you have, and I can help you make it external, so you reveal your current program to yourself. I help you facilitate it, and then you get back to the truth about yourself, and then you're the one that has that revelation. Because there's a difference between being informed and being enlightened. And if you're informed, I could just sit here and give you information for sure, but then you forget it, and then you have to come back to me. And being enlightened is when I facilitate a revelation in you, and you're the one that comes up with that. And that also duplicates. And when you have a revelation, you change your whole pattern. It's like that paradigm shift. And then you can transfer that to other people. So even after one coaching session, I can get you to talk different about yourself, because that narrative will control the environment that you have, which will control the people that come into your environment. And you'll learn to listen to the lies that other people say about themselves. Like when someone says, I'm always late, I literally will go, when was the last time you were on time? And they'll say, yesterday. I'm like, so that's a lie.
Yeah.
And it's the simplest thing, but we just get into that pattern. You know, oh, I'm the most unorganized person on the planet. And I'll say, of course you are. And I'll say, why? I'm like, because you said you were.
Yeah.
You know, like, tell me one area you're organized. And they tell me. I'm like, so you're not unorganized. You need to fix your organization in one area. So we typically will take an emotion or a situation from one thing, and we'll make it everything and create a false narrative about ourselves. But because there's no one there who could say, like, that's actually not true, or they're not bold enough to say it because they don't want to sound kind of facetious, like, well, you're not always late. They're like, well, I know I'm not always late. Well, then don't say you are.
Yeah.
Because that's like, your truth is based off of a lie, you know. So I do a lot of kind of getting people out of those states that they believe. And I mean, it's and it's never different. Like it's always a different revelation, but it's from the same place. It's always a lie that someone believes about themselves from a young age, most of the time, that then projects itself into their current environment, and then it causes mental setbacks in whatever it is they're doing. And in order to change the result, you don't have to change the result. You have to change the filter around what is causing the perception of that result. And then your soul changes, and then by default, things will start to change.
Wow.
So it's just and I think, I think it's close to 1,000 people that have coached at this point.
That's cool too, because Bob talks about with me, he's like, man, all leadership is creating a safe place with an individual to ask curiosity-driven questions to help them find the answers. Yeah. And so that's interesting. I think with social media and just this overall informative society, not only do people struggle with identity, but I think they're programmed identity too because of what social media portrays. Like, hey, this is what you need to be happy. This is what you need to look like to be happy. Do you see that a lot within your coaching?
Especially with the younger generation. Here's the other thing that's crazy is if you hate on, not you, but in general, when we hate on the younger generation, we are giving them a false narrative about themselves. So we can't get angry at them if they step into a story that we created for them.
For sure.
We go, you're lazy, you're entitled. Okay, so why are we mad when we're making that story and they're just stepping into the truth that we created for them?
Yeah.
And so I work with high school students and college students. My youngest client's 13, and he's on a future MLS Academy team. And what was crazy is just the power of the mind, and they're so impressionable. So it's so important. Like, we need to think about the language we use when we talk to these kids. Like, they're going to be running our government in 10, 15 years. So if we're speaking death over them, your words have power. And so just because you don't see the end result of what you said to someone now, 10 years from now, I could be coaching them on a lie that you gave them. Like, that's just how it works. So there was the client I had. And in soccer, you have to have a certain level of aggression. You need to be able to slide tackle, do all these things. And his parents came to me, and they were like, he has no aggression anymore. We think his coach talked it out of him, and he hasn't slide tackled anybody in like 5 years. And so I talked to him, figure out kind of what happened 5 years ago, the last time he slide tackled someone, and talked about what his coach said. And we did a couple things and reframed. We didn't lie about what happened, but we told the truth about what's happening and changed all the definitions. And he slide tackled someone the next day.
Broke his ankle, and you're the reason.
Yeah. But he slide tackled someone the next day after 5 years of not doing it, just because of a simple paradigm shift. And I think another thing is people are so willing to allow themselves to go on with certain habits for 10 years, let's say. Like someone that comes in and they're out of shape, they want to get in shape.
Right.
The question isn't like, how soon do you want to get in shape? It's how long have you been willing to be out of shape? Yeah. Okay, well, 10 years. Are you willing to put in the same amount of time towards the good habits as you were with not putting in the good habits? And most of the time, you'll get better quicker. Yeah. But it's that reality gauge of like, you're expecting a quick result from a new good habit after being surprised of having a bad result from years of doing the wrong thing. And so, but the revelation happens really quickly. That's like an instantaneous, it's that light bulb moment. So it's not a question of, can you turn the light on? It's, do you have enough electricity in the bulb to keep it on to brighten up the room? Yeah. Which is what application comes. So I can turn the light on, and show someone what's going on in their life, but the application is what actually makes it a sustainable practice.
Wow. That's super interesting. And helping, thousands of people, I believe every single time you help them, you see this, like you said, an origin of uniformity that everyone deals with. Yeah. And helping them out of it, I think that's the cool part about life and fulfillment is even if you don't receive a significant amount of dollar because of the impact that you have on their life, just knowing that you have impacted your life creates fulfillment, knowing like, this is what I'm called to do. Yeah. That's interesting. So what's your vision on that? Like knowing that you've had such a big impact on so many people so far, I know Cool Roofs is a phenomenal financial vehicle that not only allots you freedom to be able to do what you want, but also allows you freedom to then help more people. And I
Yeah.
bet through our process of the people that you've met and that you work with on the sales side, you probably through your conversation, even not knowing it, are impacting them and helping them understand their identity, which in probably returns help them be a better father, a better leader, a better sales rep, a better just individual within their community.
Yeah. Yeah, my vision there, honestly, I am an equipper. So my identity, for people like, well, does this guy know what his identity is? I do. It took me a long time to figure it out, but I am an instigator of renewal and transformation. That is like, your identity is who you are, not because of what you do, but regardless of what you do. So if you took away coaching, roofing, my family, my money, everything, I would be still a renewer, an instigator of renewal and transformation. So everywhere I go, I'm looking for areas to do that, because when I step into that identity, nobody's better than me. Not because I'm the better than anybody, but because in your true identity, there's nobody that does your true identity like you. And so in that, and the role of a company, or excuse me, your role within a company is, the best way to do it is having all of these identities that know how to feed off of each other to pursue a common goal. And so my vision is just to equip as many people as possible, not just to know their true identity, but to learn it in a way that allows them to communicate with other people to help them find theirs. So like, I did a workshop actually for one of our solar partners. It was really cool. I did 2 trainings for 40 of their sales reps, and
Wow.
then I did a behind the scenes like teach how to teach with 16 of their leadership. And so I taught them how to facilitate the things that I do. And because it's one thing to give a person a fish, but if you teach them how to fish, they'll fish for a lifetime, and they'll be able to feed other people as well. So I'm like, if I can get someone to leave here talking different about themselves, other people in their environment will go, hey, I noticed you don't say this anymore. Or that person will say, hey, you shouldn't talk about yourself this way.
Yeah.
And so you create a ripple effect of people who are, and it's not just about being emotionally intelligent. Like all of these, they're just these one-off phrases that are getting thrown around. Like, oh, I'm emotionally intelligent. I'm a life coach. I'm a this, I'm a that. But it's at the root, knowing who you are regardless of. So even within Cool Roofs, like your identity can't be in, as the head of Cool Roofs, because that means that your confidence is contingent on the status of the company, which changes. And so if you can find, and if these reps can find, and if I can find who I am outside of the thing I want to do the most, we're bulletproof. Doesn't mean we're not going to go through struggles. It doesn't mean times aren't going to be hard, but it means when times are hard, they're purposeful, because I can think about them in my identity, not like, this thing doesn't control me. I'm like, money doesn't have me. I have money.
Yep.
This company doesn't have me. I have money. This relationship doesn't have me. I have this relationship. So it's just a reframing. So that, the vision is just creating, even within Cool Roofs, like the most emotionally intelligent roofing company on the planet. With my coaching, I'm working on some things right now with just public speaking engagements and writing and just all these things. Like I want to just continue to help people realize, like, you are truly one question away from total identity transformation. There's not one question that answers it, but you're one. So just keep asking those questions. And like, people get annoyed because they'll say, well, I'll ask a question, they'll answer, and then I'll ask a question about their answer, and I'll just keep asking. They're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, why are you not? Wow. Like, the deeper you go, the deeper you think you can go deeper, because you don't, a lot of people, I'm kind of rambling, but like a lot of people think they need to recreate or just create an identity, but it's not recreating, it's discovery. It's already there. So you just have to find, like, if you try to create something that's already there, you're going to be on a rabbit chase, because like, I don't need to create a microphone. It's here. I need to discover that it's right here. Because if I spend all my time trying to make something that already exists, by the time I make it, it's not going to be real, because the real one existed from the beginning. Just like in this book, The Alchemist, which is an amazing book. Other than the Bible, it's one of my favorite books. But like, this kid he has this dream, goes on this whole journey to try to find this thing, only to realize everything he wanted was inside him at the very beginning. And so that's kind of where we're at in our journey in life.
Yeah, that's one of those books that you read, and then at the end you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, and it changed. I've read it 3 times, and it's changed every time because I'm different when I read it.
We read some good books back in the day as far as like middle school and whatnot, and that was like the one that I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I always thought that like school.
You read it in middle school?
Yeah, bro, it was awesome. Like 8th grade, I think is what it was.
That's nice. That's a
school.
good middle school there.
And then I always thought like, hey, I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad because my dad made me do it.
Yeah.
Or didn't make me, but was like, hey, you should read this.
Yeah.
And that was a phenomenal book.
Yeah.
100%. So if you do The Alchemist and Rich Dad Poor Dad,
and the Bible,
going into high school,
you got a nice
Bible,
little triangle.
Then you're gonna have some fun in high school.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's cool, man. Because like that's what I love about what we've built here, and the identity side of it is just knowing that like what excites me every day is knowing that we've built this machine that allows people to plug into, work hard to generate an income for themselves, but then also allows them to be who they are and excel at who they are and getting things done. And so it's basically what you call like a catalyst towards a better day. And within this industry, I can tell you that I've seen is there's a huge lack of leadership within the world of roofing or any sales organization. And once you define that business is truly people, and then when you have your people, you deep dive into them and assure that they're becoming their best selves, they have the tools, they have the knowledge, and then you run them through identity coaching to better understand the lies that they're telling themselves to have breakthroughs.
Yeah.
That's the big thing about Tony Robbins UPW is like one of the most impactful things that I've seen when I bring people. I mean, this will be my 9th event.
Yeah.
And
Getting up there with the Dave Matthews attendance.
Yeah, we got times it by a few, but
yeah.
That's a different podcast. Yeah. But the thing about Tony that I love is like I didn't get fulfillment from myself going. Like I had the opportunity to reflect on my goals every time I go, but my fulfillment is seen through the breakthroughs that people have that I get to bring and share that experience with them because they leave on like refreshed. You know, like you said, they're refreshed, but then it's like the application, taking that every day and applying it day to day become that much better because I feel we bottle up so much stuff. Yeah. And what we bottle up, and like, you know me, man, like I hate drama. I hate negativity. I hate when people talk about people that has no thing, like, especially like people who talk about people they don't even know or they're never going to meet. Like, it's just like ridiculous. And we get so caught up in all that then we start thinking about ourselves, and then we're not those people that we're talking crap on, even though that like negatively impacts us. So then we start telling all these lies about ourselves, and then it's like you go to the gym, you start to try and work out, but then you lie to yourself saying like I can't do, you know what I mean? Like so it's so important to have people like you in our organization, but just have you in life to really just better understand like, hey, like if someone has an issue, most people want to just throw a bag of solutions at them. And I love the way that you do things within your identity coaching. It's like, well, hey, like, let me ask some supportive driven questions that's going to help you find the answer, and it's going to diminish your limited beliefs and the lies of what you think about yourself to then help you better start applying what's actually true that then's going to create the results that you want. And you said something interesting. You said it's like throwing a rock and having a ripple effect. Yeah. And I think that rock of knowledge that you provide, that ripple effect, when you change somebody, you change many. And you said, I've probably coached 1,000 people, but you've probably impacted hundreds of thousands because once you make a significant impact on somebody, that change in them impacts all the people around them. Yeah. And you start to see they're a better leader in their community, they're a better leader at work, they're a better husband, they're a better father, they're a better wife, they're a better partner, whatever it may be, because of once you understand the lies, then you really start living. Yeah. So that's what's kind of trips me out about what you do, because like most people have a blindfold on. Yeah. And once you take that off, it's like, man, now I'm still living. And how many people do you know right now? Like, I mean, there's so many friends of mine who like, man, I was made so much fun of about how much I hustled in college and like wanted this thing so bad. Like so many people in my fraternity were just like behind my back, just crushing it. But I didn't let that get to me. Yeah. My identity was I'm going to work hard and become someone similar of my father because that's who my love falls there. So in getting out of that, the one thing I'm saying is, do you find that most people hold themselves back from great success because of the thoughts of what they think other people have towards their story.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that's tough is you can live a really good life with a false identity.
Wow.
Like, I think that would be, like, most people are living a pretty comfortable life with a false identity, but they're not living a free life, and they know it. Like, there's those people that are searching for something, and most people know how to get there, but they just don't want to because of the things they have to uncover to get there. Because it's not a pretty process, dude. Like, when I was discovering my identity discovery took so long, but in that process, it doesn't mean that you don't have everybody has an identity. It's the revelation of your identity doesn't mean that's when it starts. That's been your identity the whole time. It's just your discovery of it. And then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that's why I've done all these things. So there's a lot of good things that we make ultimate. It's like the Enneagram, cool. Myers-Briggs, cool. Zodiac, honestly, don't even get me started. It's freaking annoying. Someone's like, I was late because I'm a Gemini. I'm like, no, you're late because you said you were going to leave at this time and you didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Mercury's in retrograde.
Yeah, Gatorade.
Yeah.
But what happens is everybody wants something to put their soul into except themselves.
Wow.
And if you have a spiritual issue, and there's, like, for me, with my faith in Christ, I have somewhere to go with my guilt.
Yeah.
I have somewhere to go with my shame. I can pray. But if you have a spiritual issue, which identity mostly is a spiritual issue, it's not an emotional issue. But if you have nowhere to go with a spiritual issue, you go into your emotional state and you keep it here. So it's just this internal battle. And so that's what creates a false identity. And so what I see a lot of the time is people so married to the narrative, and the narrative's been there longer than the truth. So even if they find the truth, they stay with the narrative because it's what's familiar. And most of us would make really bad lawyers. And I say that because a lawyer needs to look at the evidence in order to make a statement and a claim. You know, is this person guilty of doing this thing? And what we do is we make case studies for and against ourselves every day without looking at the evidence.
Wow.
And then typically we'll find the evidence and ignore it because we don't like how it makes us feel. And then because we're supposed to love people, we buy into their own lie knowing the evidence isn't true. And that's not love. Like, people confuse love and tolerance. Like, if I see my friend and he's getting strung out on drugs and he wants them really bad, is loving him giving him drugs because he wants it, or having him punch me in the face while I take him to rehab, knowing that when he gets sober, he'll be able to thank me? That's love. Like, love isn't keeping someone in the lie that they believe about themselves. It's not your responsibility if they don't get out of it, but it is your responsibility to let them know they're living in it.
Wow.
And so that's why when someone comes to me with a problem, I don't present a solution. I ask for the evidence. And then I say, based off of this evidence, what do you now have to say about the claim you made when you started? Does this evidence support your claim? And
Wow.
90% of the time, it's no, it doesn't. I said, so what's the evidence say about what you told me? Well, that it's not true. So what does that mean? What is the truth?
Wow.
Well, this is the truth. And I didn't do they figured the truth out on their own. So it's just taking that extra step to not be in that driver's seat, and just ask people, like, where did these beliefs come from? Who was involved? What specific? Don't tell me about how you feel about what's going on yet. What actually happened? And most people can't describe what happened without saying how they feel about what happened. And that's why most of our realities are shifted, because you create an emotional reality and the emotion filters the truth.
Wow.
And then you take that and you project that onto someone else. So much projection has gone on. You just have these defensive identity projections, which is why you get into arguments, is because you're hearing the words, you're not seeing the story. And so when a client comes to me, it typically, they're like, I hear what you do and can you do this? It's basically just, what area do you want to experience transformation in? That's what I ask. They're like, this area. We talk about, what that looks like. And then I don't need context. People are like, how do you do this without context? I don't need context, because we figure out the lie, we go to the root, and then the context by default falls away, because it's not about the context. We spend too much time in the context,
Wow.
So
Man, it's crazy. We've got cool solar, cool roofs, cool metal. Now we got cool coaching. So,
Let's go.
come on. Well, this has been amazing. We're coming up with we got like 40 seconds left on the podcast, as we like to keep it for an hour. But as I like to say, like, please, if you are watching this and you've come to the end, if you can subscribe to our channel. Our channel here, our mission and our drive is to not only help you and learn many things within the roofing industry, but overall just help you in your personal life, leadership, and of course just developing the proper skills to absolutely dominate roofing. So Daniel, I love you, man. I appreciate
you, bro.
you.
Thank you
So much. And follow Daniel as well. I mean, he's got a lot of content. I know one of the things he's working really hard on here coming up is the opportunity to really bring about more coaching to impact people, not only just here at Cool Roofs. So again, subscribe. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good one. Come on.